Well, hello everybody. As we get everything set up here, I want to show you. We are going to be together, and we're going to shut down a few liberals today. As we go live here in a second here, it's hard putting everything up at once here. All right. Well, we are live here on TikTok. We get everything set up here. We're going to talk about a few things, and we're going to bust some theories and. As always, you can follow us on all social media, all platforms. If you have any questions here on TikTok, I'll go ahead and answer them as the clock ticks down here. We're going to be joining the Louder with Crowder team as we own some liberals today and shut down some facts and tell some truths. So, as always, you can support the channel any way you want. No pressure. Likes, gifts, whatever you want to do. We're not like Dean Withers and all of them who pressure you every 5 minutes to give up some money. We're just here to give you the news. This is Real Talk with Don Robeson. As always, we tell the whole truth, hold everybody accountable, and we're willing to tell the things that you normally can't talk about. So, here we go.
Content. Everything's a little bit harder.
Is that a Band-Aid?
It's a Band-Aid. You don't need to know the story. It's just my finger's not doing well, but it all began with an empanada.
You're definitely telling a story later.
Maybe later.
Yeah, maybe we'll see.
I just don't want anyone to be blamed. It's no one's fault but my own.
It is your fault.
And the dirty Mexicans who do the construction and leave empanadas all over the place. So, glad to be with you. Hey, quick question. Is President Trump cutting Medicaid? Oh, the Medicaid sky is falling. That's what you hear from the left. The answer, of course, is no. Canada just had a debate for people vying for the head of the Liberal Party to replace Justin Trudeau, and there are some threats made. Did you know that they kind of threatened to potentially nuke the United States? That's not a clickbait headline. They actually imply it, and it's silly because Canada shouldn't exist. We have the Epstein Watch. There could be a list released right now. This is, I believe right now it's 10:12 Eastern, so we'll see what happens. I don't know what's going to be new coming from that. And hey, how much does it cost for an NGO to funnel taxpayer dollars to a nonprofit and make a puppet show? About $17 million. We're going to talk about that today. The hits just keep coming in figuring out the fraud.
Wow.
So as we talk about Canada, I guarantee you that I'll probably lose my mind. So if you're still watching on YouTube, and you shouldn't be, you might see this. That means head on over to Rumble. We don't censor there, and it's a live show weekdays, 10 a.m. Eastern, including tomorrow. If you're a Rumble Premium member, question to you: what scares you most about Canada? Don't say nothing. Gerald, glad to have you here, Captain Morgan.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. Josh Firestein, not _Firestein on the X.
That's right. I'm on Rumble too. Check me out. I got 3 videos on there.
There you go, on the Rumble.
I'm a big deal.
It's tonight. It's a Rumble.
Okay.
Huh?
Some workers who were terminated by Doge have not been taking it well. Let's start with this.
I really felt that we were providing support and care to humanity around the world because it's the right thing to do. And that made me feel proud no matter who was president. And now I don't know what to do. And I have cried every day. I think that that's normal. I have a 15-month-old at home, and I'm looking at him and thinking, well, what's this country that we're now living in? We're here
Better.
for safety. And we're patriots. We love our country. That's why we're taking these jobs that don't pay us in the private sector. I'm an accountant.
Shut up. They don't exist in the private sector.
I could get a private sector job tomorrow, but I care about this country and I want to be here.
We're just witnessing the entire industry is going down. And what are the senators going to do about it?
Did he just say this entire industry is going down?
Yes. It's not an industry.
It's not an industry at all.
The bloat industry?
Yes.
Yeah, public service. I could get a job in the private sector. Well, then why didn't you?
Do it.
Why didn't you? That's a real question. Do you really believe that this person is doing it just for altruistic reasons? I did it because I want to serve my country. By doing accounting for a government bureaucracy, that's how you're serving your country. So we've now equated suckling at the taxpayer teat as serving your country. I've said this in the past. I want to do away with the term public servant unless there is a significant pay cut and some. How do you gauge your public service? How much have you risked? How much have you sacrificed? And by that objective, quantifiable parameter, Donald Trump is the most servicey public servant in the history of this country.
Yeah, absolutely. On Elon Musk, you put him right there. People are like, oh, he's making so much money. Do you know how much he's lost?
Yeah.
Because of the Tesla boycotts that people, $120 billion of personal worth.
Yeah.
He is sacrificing. You're like, oh, he got a $12 billion Starlink contract. Okay, or whatever it was. I think it was a SpaceX. Who cares?
Also, are you a strong patriot or do you cry every day?
Which
I'm a strong, independent woman, but it's pretty normal to cry every day over something that people experience usually half a dozen times in their life, right? Like layoffs and like, isn't that normal? Isn't that healthy? No, it's not. I know what am I implying? I'm implying that if you're crying every day because you lost a job that shouldn't exist, you're weak. You're weak of character.
Probably good for her 15-month-old son.
See mom crying all the time.
That strong male fit weight.
Yes, exactly. Here's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to foster stability and confidence in the child, regardless of your circumstances. In other words, even if you had no money to eat, that child shouldn't know until you reach that point. That is your job as a parent, your duty. But that would require you to think about it, not feel. That's the problem with this country. The problem with modern feminism, and it's permeated everything. We'll get to Canada in a second.
Speaking of feminism,
I feel this way about this job. Yeah, okay, but is that what the numbers show? Do you think that the job is necessary? Do the Americans who pay the job think? Right. How about this? Americans should be able to determine. You know how we determine here if someone is paid? I determine if it's worth it, and you do. Yep. There's a decision that is made. Why? Because it's this guy's money. It's your money. Use it when you need it, taxpayer.
Well, we should write a jingle for this.
Yeah. We should.
Missed out.
Call Doji Wentworth. 877 audit now.
There we go.
They have some kind of as long as I don't have to see flow from Progressive. I'm just, guys, is it me? Do you have any sympathy for these? I don't. I don't even feel a little bit bad. Does that make me a sociopath? I don't even feel a little bit bad.
No.
I know what you're thinking. Like maybe 2%, no percent.
No percent, 0%.
Not even 1%. Not even 0.2%. 0% bad for these people because I guarantee you they wouldn't feel bad for you.
They didn't.
No.
2021 or whatever year it was when they kicked all the military out for not getting a vaccine.
Exactly.
Right. I didn't hear an ounce of empathy, an ounce of sympathy from them.
Yeah, where were the USAID protests then? Right, Josh?
Yeah. I didn't see any tears.
Yep.
You know what I did see? I did see these same people, maybe not exact same people, but the same side saying stuff like, you know what, if you didn't get the vaccine, back of the line for you at the hospital.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Exactly.
You don't get it. You don't get treatment. That's what I saw.
Yeah. Where was the empathy for businesses that were shutting down, right?
And they lost their medical care and they lost their jobs.
Yep. Businesses that were started not at the taxpayer's expense, but, at great risk to the business creator. I think it's over 700,000 that shuttered during COVID. Mission Control, you can fact check me on that. I believe that's the number, 700,000 shuttered. Where was the empathy then? Where was the sympathy then? Governor Whitmer? Newsom? Cuomo? Where? But now we're supposed to have empathy for the people who are doing a useless job at the taxpayer's expense. No, we don't. Those businesses shouldn't have been shut down during COVID. These jobs should be cut. That's the difference. Why? Not because I feel, but because it's right. Let's go to something else that is right. Donald Trump, President Trump, is not gutting or cutting Medicaid. Okay? But the left right now, have you heard this? they've been fear-mongering. Well, they accuse us of fear-mongering. Kind of like they accuse us of hate while they call you a Nazi.
Yeah.
And don't let that work, by the way. They did it with Nixon, Reagan, Bush Sr. They even did it with Quayle, certainly George W. Bush, and Donald Trump. They did it with Mitt Romney, for crying out loud. They've accused every single conservative or Republican of being a Nazi since the 1960s. But you're the one who's fear-mongering. So now they're going out, and I don't know if this is being fact-checked by PolitiFact, by WAPO, if this is fake news.
See.
The left is saying, hey, Medicaid is going to be cut. Medicaid is going to be, Donald Trump's going to gut Medicaid. Is it true? Well, it's time for an installment of Claim Truth. And before we get into this a little bit, Medicaid, I want you to close your eyes for just a second. Please, close your eyes. Picture the kind of recipient in your mind's eye of Medicaid. Who do you picture, right? When you think Medicaid, not Medicare, Medicaid. Okay, open them. It's not. It's not.
Just across the board.
And it's between $50 to $100 billion in just fraud that we don't know about with Medicaid. Okay. But before we get to that, one of the claims that is being made on the left is that there's nothing wrong with Medicaid, first off, and that it's inefficient, this claim that people like you and I make, that's actually not true. Long wait times are a myth. Here's the truth before we get to the montage. Hey, Roger, you're on Medicaid. What do you think? All right, let's get to the next claim.
Okay.
Right now, this is everywhere in the media, and they're really hoping to gin up some fear and solidify some votes. We'll get to the demographics in a second. Trump wants to gut Medicaid.
Republicans playing with fire as they try to gut important benefits for millions.
And they passed a bill that's not paid for, that will add to the deficit, that'll give $4.5 trillion of tax cuts to billionaires and the largest corporations, and will gut Medicaid and take health care away from millions of Americans.
Wrong.
It's astonishing.
They want to cut a minimum, the floor of $880 billion from Medicaid.
House Republicans' bill framework is to cut about $880 billion from Medicaid.
Okay. Here's the truth. Medicaid is mentioned nowhere in the bill at all. Not even a little bit.
Once?
Not even. I know, that's a fair question. No, not even once. As a matter of fact, the one time that Donald Trump was asked about this, he was, some could argue, quite clear in his answer.
Can you guarantee that Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security will not be touched?
Yeah, I mean, I have said it so many times, you shouldn't be asking me that question. This will not be read my lips. It won't be read my lips anymore. We're not going to touch it. Now, we are going to look for fraud. I'm sure you're okay with that, like people that shouldn't be on, people that are illegal aliens and others, criminals in many cases.
Okay.
That was clear. By the way, I was laughing during that montage a minute ago because CNN was saying, with $880 billion in Medicaid cuts, and the guy on the screen was nodding, the Chiron said, Mike Johnson promises not to cut Medicaid.
I know.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
The Chiron guy is one of us, I guess.
So again, where are can someone tell me, have the fact checkers fact checked this? That is the definition of fake news,
Yes.
right? Misinformation. Yes. It's misinformation that could actively harm people and this country, not to mention sow division. So the bill, which does not mention Medicaid anywhere, requires about $880 billion in savings over the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, one could argue that some of those savings may come from examining fraud, which we know takes place in Medicaid. How do we know? Well, CNBC, they released an article. I don't know who they were citing, references in the description. $50 billion Medicaid fraud. It's about $100 billion between Medicaid and Medicare. Let's call it $50 billion. Hey, is that gutting Medicaid?
Over 10 years, that's $500 billion of the $880 billion they're looking for.
Yeah.
Come on.
Keep in mind, every single year, $220 to $530 billion in fraud. Every single year. That's not misuse. That's not bloat. That's not loop. We don't even know where it goes.
What?
Gone. Up to $500 billion a year. And the left is screeching about this like it's a violation of civil rights. Now, there could be, and there should be, separate from this bill, reforms to Medicaid.
Yes.
There needs to be. So, for example, what's been proposed? Work requirements. closing some loopholes that are state specific, because you have a Medicaid, right? It's both a federal and kind of state issue. They have different parameters. And Medicaid is not Medicare. Medicaid, when you think someone who's disabled, someone who is unable to work, you may think elderly, though that's more Medicare. Still, that's probably what you think. These are not the primary beneficiaries of Medicaid now.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, on the state level, there's actually some pilot programs out there with states doing this and saving a lot of money by, instead of having a federal one size fits all, they could save approximately $700 billion to $1 trillion.
Yep.
By doing that.
Yep.
There's debate about it, but that's one of the ways you get it more efficient. Hey, states' rights. There we go.
I would like to see reform in this bill.
Yes.
For Medicaid, but it's not there.
Oh. Just
to be clear, here's another truth. Medicaid is really just a form of wealth redistribution. That's why Bernie Sanders wanted Medicaid for all. You have 96 million people on Medicaid. 96 million people. Okay, now if you look at those demographics, and this does matter, white Americans make up close to 60% of the population. Medicaid, they're about 43% of Medicaid beneficiaries. Hispanic, 19% of the population, right? They make up about 28% of Medicaid. Black Americans, 12% of the population, 21% of Medicaid. If I were to tell you that one racial minority, makes up a smaller percentage of Medicaid than the general population, you're right, it's Asians.
They are consistent.
Yes.
They're consistent folk.
And that includes Pacific Islanders, so I guarantee you that's warped even a little bit more. They make up about 5.8% of the population, 5.5% of Medicaid. That's just one demo. We'll get to the age. We'll get to disability. Here's another truth. And the left thinks this is wrong. Able-bodied people of working age in the United States of America can comment. Do you agree with this? This is a statement. Able-bodied Americans of working age should work.
Yeah.
Huh?
Breaking news.
Isn't that crazy? If you believe that, or mostly believe it, you believe there needs to be reform to Medicaid.
There we go.
So according to the left, this comes from a leftist article, link in the description, imposing a work requirement for able-bodied adults would remove 36 million beneficiaries from Medicaid.
That's like a third.
I'll read you, and this is the gross human rights violation they talk about. This proposal, the proposal work requirement, would cut Medicaid by taking coverage away from people who don't meet unnecessary and burdensome work requirements. And they go on to say who are unable to navigate complex verification systems. In other words, this will take 30-something million people off Medicaid who don't know how to put together a cover letter and resume.
Burdensome work
That's what I was
requirements.
just thinking. Unnecessary
Burdensome.
and burdensome. Yes, working is burdensome. It's called work.
Yeah, so is providing for yourself.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
You know what's burdensome for me? Providing for you.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
For me,
working over here.
I've been up since 2:30 this morning. This morning feels a little burdensome. I fell asleep on the couch too early, and then I woke up too early, and it just messes up your sleep
kinda went
cycle.
with it.
Yeah, I just kind of went with it, but it was a bad idea. I thought I could get a nap in.
No, that
Mistake.
never
That never happens.
happens.
By the way, 27% of Medicaid beneficiaries are unemployed due to disability or some kind of illness. Only 27%. And by the way, there's a lot of fraud there. You know anyone who collects disability who kind of just
Anxiety.
like, oh wait, does a guy follow me? Does he have a telescopic lens over there? All right, give me my crutch. And he kind of does a little Blackbeard hop, right? We all know those people.
For sure, but that's only 27%.
It's still only
of them.
27%.
Like, even if you go, okay, fine, you guys, no fraud there at all. I'll admit that, sure. Even then, that's so many people who are able-bodied.
Yes, exactly. And the left will always do this with abortion. They'll try and give you a story and say, like, well, what are we going to do? What about someone who has no arms and legs and is deaf, mute, and unable to work? You just want to leave them on the... So they tug on your heartstrings.
Hold on.
But that's not representative of Medicaid.
MC Baba's got a career.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yeah, come on. He's not letting his disabilities hold him back. Come on
to
now.
work.
Helen Keller had a career.
Yeah, if they're retarded, send them to the FAA. They're hiring.
My brother has Down syndrome. He has held many jobs.
Yes.
He doesn't work well with others sometimes. So he's got to go through job to job. But
He's a greeter at Walmart.
No, the dude can shred papers and file stuff. He's got skills, man.
I tell you what, they need someone like him at the FBI. I have to shred the papers. Please do.
They should put
call me Shredder.
Spirit Airlines. He'll sort some stuff out.
Yeah. Like, sure, we're a nation that helps the most vulnerable among us. I understand that, and gives them an opportunity to get, but it's an opportunity to get back into the bloodstream, to start providing for yourself. That is not what Medicaid is. That is not what our entitlement programs are. And again, I need to be clear, it is nowhere in this bill, but it should be. Here's another truth. Obamacare expanded Medicaid eligibility to basically the point of breaking it. So it's not like this is a tradition. People will say Social Security, it's been around. Well, Medicaid has been around. Well, Medicaid as it exists now is not the same. It's an abomination compared to what Medicaid was meant to be. Again, if you create something and then entirely change the parameters, I think we should have a law. You need to rename it.
Yes.
Especially if, like, once the budget doubles, it needs a new name so people don't think it's Medicaid anymore.
Transparent.
Yeah, just
Mooch Care.
Yes, exactly. Yes, Mooch Care. Yes.
Thanks, Obama.
United Mooch Care.
Obama.
Okay.
So Barack Obama increased the income eligibility threshold, meaning they said, okay, you have to be below poverty. Here's the line. They increased it to 138% of what used to be the federal poverty level.
Wow.
So before, states could decide and say, okay, if you are below this income level, you're entitled to Medicaid, we'll help you out. So what happened with this is it massively increased the number of people who are enrolled in Medicaid. You know, you pay for them. It's your money, taxpayers, so you should decide. 21 million new people, or 22% of all beneficiaries.
Wow.
Think about that. They also ended state-conducted asset tests for eligibility. And what that means is that Medicaid only looks at basic income, not assets like owning property. If someone has actually accrued wealth, so it makes it far easier. In other words, you can make more income than you used to make and you still qualify. You can own a house. You can have invest in it. That's fine. You still get taxpayer dollars.
So you can have rich parents inherit a house and cars and wealth and not work and then just collect Medicaid. Free Medicaid. Oh,
and one can argue that creates more opportunity for fraud. Which that's right, $230 to $500 billion a year in fraud. That's not waste. That's not overspending. That's not bloat. That's vapor. We have no idea where $500 billion a year goes, and we can't cut Twizzlers from Snap.
Make your own licorice.
So this is what they do. You know what it is? Doge is very popular right now. Yeah. People are going, oh my gosh. Yeah. And you know what? The left knows that you can't turn this back. They know that if the American public, that's why they bitch about mistrust in institutions. They know that if the American public says, well, hold on a second. Yeah, that does seem really wasteful. I do think that we need to be scaling this back. Yeah, I do think that we need to go in and start auditing. They know that once that happens, there's going to be a window of probably 2 decades where Americans, their set point and your set point, rightfully so, will be mistrust of the government because you saw it. And so right now they're throwing up every single defense, increasingly dishonest ones, to try and stop you from looking. They're really scared at anyone looking.
What?
And there are quite a few reasons for that.
I can't even believe that we're not going to ask people to work. I cannot believe that a third of this could go away if people would just work. And I can't believe that they're so scared about the poverty level. You said 138% of it. Do you know why they did that? Instead of just raising the poverty level to meet it so that they could do that, they said, no. $27,000 a year for a family of 3. That's not much, right?
Right.
That's really low. But if we raise it and just keep Medicare at the poverty level number, then that'll mean that there's more poor people on our watch and the American people might be. It's math. These people don't care about you. They care about optics.
Yeah.
That is all they care about.
Yes.
I worked at a comedy club in Kentucky, and there was a security guy, a door guy, that was like, he was disabled in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, like, how do you look at that guy?
Right.
And go, that's too hard.
Yeah.
I know.
That's too hard for me. I think I'll let him do the heavy lifting and pay for my Medicaid.
Mm-hmm.
Listen,
I'd qualify.
I get there real.
You know that I'd qualify for disability.
You probably
people
would.
with rheumatoid arthritis, and
I think a lot of people.
Yeah, I would.
I'm saying that guy could have easily just not worked,
no,
I would be fine with that.
Yeah.
He's disabled. I get it, but he's like, no, I'm going to go work. I'm going to make my own money.
Yeah.
And he's subsidizing your lazy ass for sending.
Well, Stephen has gigantiscus, which definitely qualifies.
I do.
Is that what it's called?
Disability. Yes. It's a condition. Elephantitis of the balls is a close cousin.
I prefer Praetorian glutes.
You could have had a big sack or a big butt. You get the butt. Sorry.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
It's
would have been.
Thanks for pointing it out.
Sorry.
It points itself out, to be honest.
Yeah, you don't have to rest a glass on it. Now,
it's like a shelf.
No, I was notified. Like, you can qualify for disability. I'm like, really? Oh, wow. So then most of those people must be pussies. Now,
a little bit.
This is also why they don't want you to look. And we'll see what happens with Epstein, too. We'll get to that. But they don't want you to look because the Doge audit has revealed things that we expected.
Yeah.
But quite a few things that we did not expect. This time it involves a $17 million puppet show. And the worst part is, this time it's not even Iraqi.
So Norm Eisen, he runs an NGO called State United Democracies Center. State United Democracy Center. Now that NGO accepts $17 million in private donation. So I was researching. What do they do? Like with $17 million? I started researching, but the only thing I could find, and I wasn't digging, but the only thing that I found, they made a knockoff Muppet show. All those famous people at the NGO, and the only thing they did was $17 million was make a terrible Muppet show.
I know that sign. I know what that sign was.
Yeah,
she censored her.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what? People should not censor the deaf.
No, they shouldn't.
No.
Come on, check your
She said what she said.
your hearing privilege.
She didn't censor the sign language.
No.
Yeah.
She censored it.
By the way, anyone else notice that her sign interpreter was quite cleavagey?
I did.
No, I did not.
Yes. Yeah. She's wearing that's a good move if you want to distract people from your deafness.
Yeah, they're deaf, not blind. Come on, lady.
You just bring in your signer.
Swing.
Yeah. she could be making stuff up. That deaf lady may not even sign and no one would know because they're going, yeah. What'd she say? I don't know. You complete me or some shit. So that was actually Data Republican, who's done a lot of great work, one of Doge's researchers. And, our heart goes out to her because she was actually doxxed by a leftist just a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And that's got to suck because she'll never hear him coming. And 17 million doesn't seem like a lot. I understand that when we're talking about 500 billion in fraud.
Hold on. I get it, but 17 million is a lot of dollars.
But then you add up a few million here for, again, puppets in Iraq. You add up a few million here for LGBTQ education in Serbia. You add it up, and I don't care about the number. I really don't. We have to start with, is this an appropriate use of government power? Does a puppet show to a nonprofit, does that fall under the legitimate purview of government? In other words, when people say, hey, we need to find some common ground, you have libertarians all the way on one side, or they border on anarchy. Okay, and then you have, let's just say, Democrats. Let's say you have communism all the way over here. All right, where do we fall in finding common ground if we're conservative, libertarian, populists, Republican, traditional, with an entire political wing that thinks it's a crime against humanity to examine, audit, and eliminate a $17 million puppet show? Where are we going to find common ground? You think we're going to find common ground on a work requirement for Medicaid? You didn't want to get rid of the puppet show. And just so you know how crappy a puppet show is, when it costs $17 million going through a government entity and then an NGO and a nonprofit. I know you're wondering, how bad is this puppet show?
It's got to be bad, right?
Here, this bad.
How does Michigan make sure elections are safe, secure, and accurate? This entire certification process
17 million.
is overseen by the Michigan Board of State Canvassers. Every cast ballot is secured, tracked, and put under strict chain of custody rules. In Pennsylvania, bipartisan poll watchers
17 million
parties oversee the ballot counting process.
$17 million.
We've done better.
By the way, just so you know, about 147 subscribers on YouTube. 147 subscribers.
Who are those people?
Literally.
What's the ad share on that?
Yeah. What's the monetization?
What do you make on that?
Tens of views. Your tax dollars at work. $17 million
Well, the puppets were made out of human hairs.
Yes, they were. And they were humans who had to be harvested. They had to be created in a lab.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, right next to Elon Musk's next babies. Now,
Ashley?
Hey, she's not a lab.
This is well, actually, we do have a direct contrast, apples to apples. To show you how ridiculous $17 million is for a puppet show, we have actually done quite a few installments that involve puppets. We do not have $17 million for each singular puppet show, and we pretty much have done it in our spare time. Less money.
Hi, I'm Josh Firestein.
And I'm PJ, and we're here to share today's woke word of the day.
That's right. And today's word is a really fun word. It's trigger warning.
Trigger warning?
Yeah, trigger warning is like when you're hanging out with your buddies or your friends out in the field and you're all hanging out, about to get your stuff done. Then someone goes, range hot, weapons hot.
What the f***? The f***?
That's what you say. That's
Are you
trigger.
trying to blow out my eardrums?
No, just letting you know.
The f*** is wrong with you? Fucking cockass.
Crackhead.
Suck my dick.
I wouldn't pay $17 million for it, but I'd pay the price of admission.
You get tens of views on it.
we could get more than 147 subscribers
just from that.
Just like that.
I mean, right now, more people have seen it than all of the other $17 million puppet shows combined.
I found out this morning that I wasn't supposed to actually suck him.
Yes, well, I know. Yeah,
you're coughing up fur balls for a week.
Coughing felt for.
Really quickly, I want to go back. You mentioned that this person was doxxed. So apparently, doxxed. Sorry.
Yeah,
so
doxxed.
Apparently, the New York Times felt that it was necessary to publish the names and faces of 45 of the Doge employees.
Mm-hmm.
It's necessary. It's something that the American people need to see. As much hatred and vitriol that's being pushed at these people who, by God, are just doing an audit and going in there and seeing where waste, fraud, abuse, and you not working when you're supposed to be working from home. They thought, well, yeah, the American people need to know the names and the faces of these individuals. And so we're the paper of record, I guess.
Yeah, the left is evil. The left is evil. They're
do something with this.
I think it was today that they did that. I think it was today.
They're angry at the people who are saying, hey, we ran the numbers. It seems like there's fraud there. They're angry at those people and not the people who've engaged in fraud.
Yes.
The left is evil. No common ground with evil. I'm sorry. This is not Republican, Democrat. It's evil. Comment below if that's where you are. And I believe that these people deserve no quarter. We're actually going to lay out some parameters because of people like Jake Tapper. He inspired it. You have a lot of Johnny-come-latelys who now they try and get themselves into the fold with conservatives. Okay, you have to publicly apologize completely, and you have to list the damage that you have done. There has to be some kind of restitution for it, and you have to tell us why you have changed. There needs to be no quarter for anyone who is engaged in the agreed-upon lies that we have had to live through. The agreed-upon lie that was COVID, and that we had to lock down.
Cuomo.
And that we had to shut down businesses, and the mRNA injection. The agreed-upon lie of the election. The agreed-upon lie that men and women aren't a thing anymore. The agreed-upon lie that government is out to serve you. The agreed-upon lie that you need to trust your institutions. The agreed-upon lie that any mistrust is actually a conspiracy theory. The agreed-upon lie that media is unbiased. Anyone who has taken part in these giant agreed-upon lies, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's not even a conspiracy. We have lived through agreed-upon lies. There needs to be no mercy, no quarter, and no forgetting what they put you through. They're evil. That's my report, Captain. Yes, Gerald.
No. I was going to say, Jake Tapper, what he needs to do is all the things that you said, and in the book that he is apparently co-authoring, there needs to be a chapter on what he did to cover up Biden's mental decline.
Yeah.
You cannot be a person who's involved in the cover-up and then write a book as though you just discovered it.
Right. I'm going to get to the States United Democracy Center. But by the way, if you're watching right now, download the Rumble app. That's the best way to stay in touch. You only get notifications when we are live.
Yes.
And you can get it on your TV. It's seamless. Rumble, we own live. YouTube is dead. Right now, they are talking about Doge, and they said that the EPA could be looking at 65% in cuts. I'm just willing to bet by the haircut left. Let's see.
The Clean Water Act, remember the Safe Drinking Water Act. We do what Congress dictates by law that we need to do, and EPA is an implementing agency to protect all of us. That's the important thing to remember. So while we can talk about
government bloat personified, I've dealt with the EPA.
Well, no. They make sure that water works fine, right, Flint?
That's fine, right? Yeah. So that seems like a noble thing, and that's how they package this stuff. I've dealt with these people intimately at the county and the state and even the township level up in Ohio.
Yeah.
It is a nightmare. Yep. Not only is it a nightmare, it's a system that's gamed all the time. You've created an entire black market for people to get around EPA regulations because they're stupid, they're onerous, and the people that have those jobs don't even know the code. I've had to tell them and their lawyers, here's the code.
Right.
Show me the part where you're talking about, and they couldn't do it.
Right. It's always the same thing. It's we exist to serve, we exist to protect, we exist to help the American. Really? Okay. Well, just ask one follow-up, CNN. So where do you think the $500 billion a year in fraud is taking place? Ask them that. Yeah. Not one will answer. Let's go back to my old high school gym teacher.
Sit down with
I do
the
like the
program
Bose
staff
headphones,
at
though.
EPA.
Those are
Look at
very nice.
opportunities to
She's doing fine.
downscale, where those efforts are not as important as others. I'm not suggesting that EPA is perfect, but
Good.
what I am suggesting is that there needs to be a thoughtful process to recognize what is the EPA, what is our task to do, and
what
how
is
do we
sunshine?
deliver that task in the most cost-effective
What do they
way.
do here?
And you'll only
You know what?
do
That's a
that
good question.
if you do outreach.
What were you doing for the last 55 years? EPA created, I know Nixon was it 1970, somewhere in the early 70s. What were you doing for over 50 years? You only have a problem. And by the way, no one's saying completely eliminate. You're saying you may face 65% in cuts. It's not perfect. Hey, we think it's about 65% imperfect.
Yes. By the way, she was climate advisor to Biden.
Oh, wonderful.
So I guess I understand where she lines up on stuff.
Yeah, I can
She's
imagine.
not just like, hey, let's make sure we manage these resources well. She's like, it's an existential threat.
Well, here's the thing. Watch her right now.
Who, Mrs. Magoo?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Everything goes wrong around her. She's just driving her car. Everyone else is burning alive, getting Final Destination. Mosey and unknown. Wiggly, wiggly.
Must be in the environment.
Must be that climate change. She's the kind who you know. She's the kind of person who you know would like Uber in her off time and hotbox the car right before you get in. Okay.
Ew, that's disgusting.
So
She doesn't go outside and look at her.
yeah, this is a perfect tie-in to the States United Democracy Center, that puppet show. Okay, because you'll see what happens. They try and fend everyone off before you get in and audit something. So the States United Democracy Center is a nonprofit. It's dedicated to election monitoring and, quote, promoting truth in elections. So the SUDC receives almost 100% of their funding from donations, but the donors are listed as restricted on the IRS filings. So the IRS, they know the donors, you don't. Let me give you some of the leaders here when we're talking about a $17 million puppet show, and if these leaders or board members should know better. You have ex-New Jersey Governor Christy Todd Whitman. You have ex-RNC Chairman Michael What Up Steele. You have former Bush administration official Tom Ridge, former Obama administration official Janet Napolitano, and its director. And you see what's going on CNN right now. Okay, this person out there talking about the EPA, right? And they just seem like someone who might be objective. The director of this NGO is a lawyer named Norm Eisen. So a $17 million puppet show from this organization. The director is lawyer Norm Eisen. Now, you might be saying, hey, that name sounds familiar. Well, you may recognize this person who in no way has a vested interest in continuing government fraud.
We've gone to court again and again at State Democracy Defenders Fund, filing the very first lawsuit saying Doge was illegal.
What you're seeing is
a
shock and awe assault on the foundations of our democracy with all of these unconstitutional and illegal actions. There was an attempted shock and awe campaign
How is hair getting
Donald
darker?
Trump, Elon Musk, and Doge to take over the government and bend it to their will.
So this guy goes out and says, no audit, auditing is criminal. This is un-American. Why would you want to audit 17 million puppet show? Yeah, greenlit. That's what this guy is doing.
Mm-hmm.
This organization, okay, $17.5 million in revenue in 2023. All references available. Okay, $11 million in expenses that include $2 million in compensation to the board, the people who we just mentioned, $5 million in other salaries, wages, $1 million in legal and accounting fees. This is the cycle. You have someone like Norm Eisen, you entrench yourself in the government, right? He's worked with Obama. He was co-counsel in the Trump impeachment. You can look at his history.
Yeah.
Entrench yourself in the government. Be a founder of some bogus nonprofit. Use it to funnel money. Then stop any type of investigation. Doge tries to investigate the fraud. So this man uses the funds and influence that he basically accrued through the fraud to try and block and shut down Doge investigations. At what point do people need to be hauled out in cuffs? That's a genuine question. Yeah. Comment below. At what point do these people get fitted for an orange jumpsuit? I'm not convinced that this $17 million puppet show creating organization is not, I'm not convinced it's not a terrorist front. And neither, by the way, is even former President George W. Bush, who's doing more in retirement than these assholes.
We must stop the terror. I call upon all nations to do everything they can to stop these terrorist killers. Now, where is that Waldo caricature?
I hope he finds him.
Absolutely.
It's exceedingly difficult if he's in the candy cane forest.
Well, I didn't find bin Laden, but my hopes are high.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes.
Where are you, little prick? All right.
By the way, so we just launched the Trump collection on crowdershop.com. Go to crowdershop.com right now. Order by March 7th, and you'll get it before St. Patrick's Day. This is one of the coolest. I wore a version of this to the national championship game. Don't say anything. And I got stopped like 10 times for people who didn't even know the show. They just thought it was a really cool shirt. So grab yourself one of these. It's the Fight Like Hell version that we just did.
Yeah.
And you get $6 off any order with promo code IRISH. Go, and you don't have to be a Notre Dame fan, but it helps. This is a Trump fan. And, when you go get sauced on St. Patrick's Day, drink responsibly.
Least effective fighting stance ever.
It's not true. It's a dancing stance.
Great match.
Eating no sword, so laddie.
Well, right after you break me wrists and me completely unbalanced, powerless stance.
Hold on, let me get drunk.
Yes, right. That's actually how I came up with the stance. I was drunk.
Fight.
I thought, what's the best way to position my hands so they can't protect my face and they're not ready to throw a punch of their own?
No. You're drinking, not fighting. Drinking.
Oh, okay.
Drinking.
That still doesn't make sense.
I'm more of a kicker.
I tell you what, though, it's not as dumb as an entire country of people, Canada. So it's okay. I can say it because I'm half Canadian. I was raised there, to be clear. I was born in the States. My mom is French Canadian. I was raised there. And I know a lot of you are thinking, hey, do you have, is there any part of you that's proud of being Canadian? No, not even a little bit. There's no part of me that is proud
that's awesome.
To be half a nation that keeps the Queen on its money.
I mean, it's hard to reprint money, I guess.
At that point. So, and we've talked about this and we've joked about Canada, but seriously, Canada shouldn't exist. I mean that. Canada really shouldn't exist as a country. It's a disreputable place. It's a place right now that has become unworthy of respect. And I think that there needs to be some reform, namely a 51st state. So yesterday, and I watched all of this from pillar to post. That's maybe also why I didn't sleep. This happened last night. Former Justin Trudeau lieutenant, her name is Chrystia Freeland. It's kind of like a primary in Canada for those seeking control of the Liberal Party when Trudeau steps down. And so we're going to show you some clips, and some of it is surprisingly alarming. But again, this lady seems like she's the front runner because she worked with Trudeau. Here's an introduction. I'm sorry, right clip. Here's the other clip.
And welcome to special coverage of tonight's Liberal leadership debate. I'm David Cochrane in Ottawa, and in just 15 minutes, candidates vying to become Liberal leader and very likely Canada's next Prime Minister will face off in the second and final debate. There are four candidates: Frank Baylis, Mark Carney, Chrystia Freeland, and Karina Gould. They are set to take the stage in Montreal. Tonight, they debate in English. Last night, they debated in French.
What we will see, though, is because they're all speaking in their mother tongue in English, we'll see much more comfortable people, much more confident people, and people that can speak really, powerfully about their policy ideas. So I think that's a given. It will be a better debate.
Now, remember, this lady who seems she's poised to seize control of the Liberal Party there in Canada, Freeland, in 2022, gleefully doubled down on freezing the truckers, the protesters' bank accounts. Here's what authoritarianism looks like.
Okay, so my follow-up is in two parts then. So you're confirming that accounts have been frozen, both personal and corporate, but you're not releasing the information?
The names of both individuals and entities, as well as crypto wallets, have been shared by the RCMP with financial institutions. And accounts have been frozen, and more accounts will be frozen.
How was this not revolution in Canada?
It's a subservient people. It's a submissive, subservient
because
people.
You were protesting. You froze bank accounts. You got rid of GoFundMe accounts, and you went after crypto wallets.
Yeah.
The one thing that's supposed to be independent of all of this.
Hey, you don't like that the United States is a nation of guns? That's why.
Yep.
If you're not a nation of guns, you become a nation where the government brags about freezing your accounts and assets for the wrong opinion. And you don't even need to go to Venezuela.
You parked your truck somewhere and they're like, well, yes, you're not going to eat.
And in watching this, it really was emblematic of kind of the rest of the world and the tariffs and where we find ourselves as Americans. It was a bunch of Canadians trying to justify the existence of a country that would never exist at any point in history if not for the United States. And it made me, if anything, emboldened. It undergirded the idea that the United States not only doesn't need Canada, but until Canada starts sharing our values and until they start taking our best interests into consideration, Canada needs to be punished, and not just because they borderline threatened to use nukes. It's time for No Canada. All right. Here's the first claim you heard in this debate. That President Trump, this is what they're saying in Canada, is Canada's greatest challenge.
A few weeks ago in Saskatoon, I met a 4-year-old girl named Ari. She asked me, "Can you stop Trump from invading Canada?" Ari is a smart girl, and she's asking the right question.
You can't.
I'm running for leader of the Liberal Party and the next Prime Minister of Canada because Trump is posing the gravest challenge our country has faced since the Second World War.
Yeah, in case you didn't know, she's a feminist who deals in hyperbole. That statement, by the way, was made immediately before she was backhanded by a red-pilled moose. And that was,
Tate traveled quickly.
Yeah, I love Tate Moose. Here's the truth, okay? Canada has had way graver challenges than Donald Trump. And I want you to just take a bird's eye view here. So since World War II, right, you had the Quebec separatist crisis, you had the biker wars that took place in the 1990s, you had the terror bombing that had taken place, I believe, in somewhere in the 1980s, also not winning any Stanley Cup since 1993. But more importantly, the gravest challenges that Canada has faced, that's since World War II, but you can include World War II. You can include any global conflict. As a matter of fact, any global conflict, shortage, pandemic, catastrophe, or emergency is an extinction-level threat for Canada every single time, if not for the United States. That's your gravest challenge, Canada. Historians will look back on Canada and they'll say, well, how did this exist?
Yeah.
The top one or two biggest countries as far as landmass and no way to defend it. They must not have had any desirable resources, right? Oh, they did? Rich in natural resources? What? How close in proximity to, if Russia came across, the United States. Oh, that makes sense. Nowhere else would a nation like Canada still exist. It would be conquered, and they would be speaking, whatever. It could be, take the Mongols, take the Ottomans, but they should be speaking American. They still speak French. That's where it's silly. It's a goofy, silly place. And by the way, now Canada, even today, is still facing far worse challenges than Donald Trump, but they believe their job is virtue signaling. The real challenges that Canada faces, okay? A tanking economy. Canada would be the 4th poorest state in the United States.
Jeez.
They have a housing crisis. Canada is short by about 3.5 million housing units.
Ooh.
Their population is 1/10 the size of the United States.
Yeah.
They have an immigration disaster, despite what they will tell you. Even Trudeau, Prime Minister Trudeau, had to reverse course because of how bad immigration has become. I'm sorry, right clip. Here's the other one.
Immigration. Let's talk about it. In the last 2 years, our population has grown really fast, like baby boom fast. And increasingly, bad actors like fake colleges and big chain corporations have been exploiting our immigration system for their own interests. So we're doing something major. We're reducing the numbers of immigrants that will come to Canada for the next 3 years. Today, I'm gonna let you in on what happened, where we made some mistakes, and why we're taking this big turn.
How many takes do you think they had to do because he kept saying, "I'm going to let you in on me"?
Oh, at least 3.
We just have to admonish you. Actually, that's not former prime minister. It's a governor.
Oh,
this comes directly from the White House, and so we have to respect the office.
Sorry, respect the office. You can admonish me.
Yes,
and he's not
Governor Trudeau.
That's right. He is not former. Well, he's the former leader of the Liberal Party.
Governor.
It's a transition period. Okay, fine.
Governor Trudeau.
Fine. I'll take it. So, Canada faces many grave dangers, many grave challenges, namely all of them if they don't have the help of the United States. And they face far worse internal crises right now. Why is that not the focus? Because the left, just like Amy Klobuchar listing her 5 accomplished tasks last week, including standing up to Russia, they believe their profession is largely centered around virtue signaling. And their virtue signaling is largely centered around hating you. Got it? They're evil. Here's another claim that certainly sounded alarm bells for me, that Canada will form a nuclear-powered alliance specifically to counter the United States. Doesn't sound like a good neighbor.
What is different about this unleashed and empowered President Trump is he is clearly threatening our sovereignty.
You have no sovereignty.
We need to respond. And so what Canada needs to do is work closely with our democratic allies, our military allies.
And be someone else.
I've been foreign minister. I know how to do that. That's why I would start with our Nordic partners, specifically Denmark, which is also being threatened, and our European NATO allies. I would be sure that France and Britain were there, who possess nuclear weapons. And I would be working urgently with those partners to build a closer security relationship that guarantees our security in a time when the United States can be a threat.
Them sounds like fighting words to me.
Sounds like a single mom looking for a new baby daddy.
Yeah, exactly. That the United States.
Stepdad.
By the way, this is the problem with feminism permeates everything. Do you have any idea how far into her phrase she would have begun before Genghis Khan would have raped her? Do you understand this? Like, people go up there and talk tough from a country, by the way, that has no nukes. Do you have any idea what it's like to deal with barbarian? And by the way, not pro-rape. What I'm saying is, have you looked at actual empires? You know, the kinds of nations that the United States isn't, who would look at your country as nothing more than an opportunity. All this talking tough, and I'm a strong, independent, goes out the window when you are dealing with a monster. You know who knows how to deal with a monster? Someone like Donald Trump. Not you, because you think that you're threatened by the United States nukes. What do you think, we're going to nuke Canada? Here's the truth. It wouldn't work anyway, sweetheart. The United States military would outmatch all of the countries that you mentioned combined. Let's look at just the number of nukes to start. The United States has well over 5,200. France, the next closest on the list of the countries she meant, 290. UK, 225. She mentioned Denmark, 0. And they want to ally with Canada, also 0.
By the way, you're trying to turn one of our friends against us with the UK?
Yeah.
It's one of our strongest allies?
Let's look at the next important piece. Aircraft carriers. The United States has 11. UK, 2. France, distant third, 1. Denmark, again, 0. Canada, again, 0.
Oh, they got some snowmobiles, though.
Yeah, Denmark.
That's good for something.
I don't know if these people in Canada believe it, but even if they did, hey, there's nothing you can do. Let's look at the active military personnel. The United States, 1.3 million people. France, next on up, 380,000. UK, 148,000. Denmark, 16,000.
Wait, what?
Canada, 107,000. 107,000. So let me do some math here. This is why I say Canada is a very silly place. And I know a lot of you may be Canadian right now. Sound up. This is not insulting you, the Canadian citizen. It is your government. But yeah, you know what? You need to do something about your country. We had a revolution. You keep the Queen on your money. Canada has no sovereignty. You have the Queen on your money because you didn't have the revolution that we did, and you exist because we allow you to exist. Okay? Let's look at the number of troops right there, right? I just gave it to you. It's about 107,000 in Canada. Let's average that out per square mile. So in the United States, you have about one active military member. It's about the ratio, we did the math, is 0.359. Okay, 0.359 when you're talking about troops per square mile. Canada, 0.027. That means the United States has 13 times more troops per square mile. Do you understand that? Here's the thing. There have been nations that are very small and inconsequential, and they haven't been conquered. And there have been nations that are relatively large, but they haven't been conquered because they have a strong military or they don't really have a bunch of desirable resources. There has never been a nation as large as Canada, physically as desirable, that has not been conquered and is completely unprotected. Canada is the least defended modern country ever. Ever. And they want to talk tough. It's delusional. And here's something, we're going to get to the trade deficit too. If you watch this debate, you can copy paste it to anywhere else in the world. They have no cards to play, just like the left doesn't have any cards to play. It's all bluster. The rest of the world right now is a toddler screaming before bedtime, but they're going to be put down. Figuratively, I'm not talking about nuking any place.
Like she was potentially. And by the way, if you're talking tough and you're talking about forming an alliance, why would you start with Denmark?
Right.
17,000 troops, no carriers, no nukes. You're basically bringing on another liability.
She's trying to lump people in to what she is thinking as a victim. Like, oh,
no,
we're threatening Denmark. Dude, we didn't threaten
Put them
Denmark.
on the list. Put them at the bottom of the list. Put them at the bottom of the list and put France at the top. Can you imagine France is the top of your stronghold list?
Right. Nukes? Well, here's the other thing, too. They're talking about, okay, all right. Canada's not a good neighbor. Let me be clear to you about this. They're trying to say, I can't believe that Donald Trump would treat us this way when we are their most reliable neighbor. No, you're not. You're the kind of neighbor who just leaf blows into my yard and you know full well what you do.
Also, we have only two.
Yes.
We have only two, and the other one is having a siesta.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
The cartels could take out the Canada military.
Let me show you how bad of a neighbor Canada is. And by the way, this includes, this can be extended to pretty much the rest of the world. That's why we're fed up. Canada then starts discussing in this debate, and I believe that Trudeau also echoed this, that, you know what, we're a good neighbor. We're going to honor the contract of NATO and hit our target spending really soon.
Canada fully expects to reach NATO's 2% of GDP spending target by 2032.
Okay, so we're looking 2032? So you mean in almost a decade, you're going to start honoring the contract that always required you to do it? That's a good neighbor?
It takes time to get there.
And we have this clip somewhere, the euthanization clip. Do you have it regarding the Canadian military? Even if Canada was going to finally start...
It's an overlay.
It's an overlay?
Yeah.
Canada, by the way, they value their military so much that they would sooner euthanize troops, veterans, euthanize veterans rather than pay for their care. We have an overlay. Oh, yeah, it's overlay 810 euthanize. That's part of their program there because they're loving and
their
caring.
MAID program. Do you remember that? Medically assisted?
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't even know the rest of it, but either way, it's they kill you.
It's insane. No. Let's not give them therapy. You know, let's not give them medicine.
Yeah,
let's just kill them.
Yeah,
I think medically assisted induced death.
Right,
induced.
Yeah, the old suicide box.
Why do you have to be made like?
Well, enough veterans are killing themselves. Why don't we just do it ourselves?
Yeah. You know, that'll buy us some time as we hit our agreed upon contract of military spending by 2032.
I was wrong. It's medical assistance in dying.
There we go. We did have a video like when we covered the MAID program when they rolled that out like a year ago or something like that, or when they it was a vet who needed a wheelchair, I believe.
Yeah. Yep.
And they're like, they were like, they got the form that said, I need a wheelchair. And they said, have you considered killing yourself?
Yep.
And it's the brochure.
It's a whole problem. You got sometimes there's no ramps.
Yeah.
You gotta build your arm strength up, and you gotta get a special car. It sucks. Just die.
Yep. And they can't take them to the fireworks.
Yeah.
We don't have wheelchairs. Sorry.
Let me change
all out.
And this is what Donald Trump has been pointing out with trade and with deficits in the United States being exploited. And I know it's really hard for people to understand that the United States has been exploited when we're, the wealthiest country in existence and the most powerful country in existence. So you kind of look past that. And the left always views champion as bad and underdog as good. That's why they support places like Palestine. That's why they support LGBT no matter what, regardless of morality, even when they start beating up women. That's how they view the world. Well, if you have less, you must be in the moral right. Okay. The United States has been exploited. Let me pause at something here. Imagine if, instead of having never hit their agreed upon NATO spending, and the United States often hitting double, imagine if we lived in a world where Canada actually honored their agreements, like good neighbors. Think they still have the budget for socialized healthcare? Think they still have the budget for socialized media, the CBC, government propaganda media? Think a lot of those little niceties that they have, that they brag about, how Canada takes care of their citizens more than nice. Think that goes away? Let's take this. That happens, and then there's a global conflict where Canada has to defend itself. How much free crap do you think they can give their citizens? You remember the war effort, right? In World War II? We had to do that here in the United States. We had to ration coffee, for crying out loud. Just remember that when you have a socialist here say, why don't we do what other nations do, like Canada, like Sweden? Do they have to defend themselves? No? Well, then we're not going to allow them to exploit us economically while we pay for their defenses. Here's another claim that they make, and more proof that they are god-awful neighbors, but most importantly, delusional. Canada is going to hit President Trump where it hurts most on tariffs.
My first move is dollar for dollar retaliation. And let me be very clear with President Trump. If I am prime minister, I will not flinch. We will retaliate. If you hit us, we will hit back. We are going to have targeted retaliation that exerts maximum pain in the U.S. and does minimum harm to us. We're going to hit Trump's best friends. I will impose a 100% tariff on Teslas. I'm going to hit Wisconsin dairy. I'm going to hit Florida orange juice.
It's an emergency situation, and we've got to relook at our defense spending, where we're buying planes from the United States. We're buying all kinds of defense industry products from the United States. And you know what? We're going to put them on hold for now. And if this continues for a couple more weeks, we're going to cancel them.
Okay. Here's the
said the same thing about their vets.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the truth. A lot to unpack here. Overlay A6. Canada's not even a top 25 purchaser for United States defense contracts. So we wouldn't even feel it. Morocco buys more.
What's that now? What is that? Is that a place?
Yeah, exactly. I think if you saw the movie Babel, Brad Pitt cries there, something like that.
Oh, it's Africa. Oh, okay.
Is that Happy Feet? No, that's Madagascar.
Yeah. It's hard. Yeah, we're going to hit the United States where it hurts, and they're going to really feel the purchasing power of number 26 through 31, depending on the year. Okay, let me give you some other uncomfortable truths here. They're delusional. Canada depends on the United States way more than we do on Canada. Okay? And this is not even taking into account the military defense, which is, by the way, a given. It's foundational for them. 2023, the United States, our exports to Canada are 1.3%. That's what it was, about 1.3% of GDP. For Canada, their exports to the United States, 20% of GDP. 20% of GDP. They are not even top 25 purchasers as it relates to planes or military wares. And this is why President Trump, this isn't just about Canada, they're just fun to point out. President Trump doesn't seem all that affected by it.
I've known many people who've lost children to fentanyl and for other reasons, but to fentanyl, it's such a big killer. And those people are never the same people. I mean, I've seen people that for the rest of their lives, they're not the same people. They're so different. It's not even believable. Dynamic people, happy people they die a miserable death. And that's because of the crap that comes in through China and through Mexico and through Canada. A lot of it comes through Canada. Look, we support Canada. $200 billion a year in subsidies, one way or the other. We let them make millions of cars. We let them send us lumber. We don't need their lumber. We're going to free up our lumber. Lee's going to do the head of environmental.
We got a lot
We're
of
going
it.
to free up our lumber. We have the best lumber there is. We don't need their lumber. What do we need their lumber for? When you look at it's beechwood. We subsidize them $200 billion a year. Without us, Canada can't make it. You know, Canada relies on us 95%. We rely on them 4%. Big difference. And I say Canada should be our 51st state. There's no tariffs, no nothing.
This is the way the United States should have been dealing with the world this entire time.
Yes.
You think, you ever travel abroad?
Ever since World War II, since we had to
Yes.
fund that Reconstruction and everything.
Yep.
Yeah, certainly. You ever travel abroad? They go, you Americans are so arrogant. Well, we really haven't been, actually. But I think it's about time to be the cock of the walk. I'm fine with it.
We're so arrogant. You're what country? UK. The sun never set on the British Empire. Have you ever heard that saying before? Because you guys colonized and raped and pillaged, I guess.
No, we stole the sun.
Okay, and then
drowned it in the Boston Harbor.
Yeah, exactly. France, Spain. You guys were doing the exact same thing and trying to keep up with the Joneses with England. Like, go screw yourselves.
Yep. Here's another claim that they make, and they're reaching. Well, actually, no. The United States, and here's the thing: the left here will echo this. They're one and the same. And they're all delusional. They're all wrong and dishonest. The United States really needs Canadian energy.
Put them on notice on the broader aspects of our commercial relationship. We are their largest supplier of energy. We are their largest supplier of electricity. We are their largest supplier of uranium. I could go on, but I will exhaust all my time.
Okay, here's the truth. We don't need Canada. We don't need Canada for energy. Now, you can talk about crude and how they have the ability to refine it, to process it, but that's just because we decided it was more cost effective. We can build that up. Canada can't. Canada is screwed. Canada needs the United States. They need the United States. We're not just talking about energy, but they need us so they can export their energy. We do not need their energy. Since 2019, the United States has been a net energy exporter for the first time under Donald Trump. The first time, I believe, in our lifetime, if I'm not mistaken. We need to build some new refineries to refine our own oil in the United States. That would involve some growing pains. It's a slightly uncomfortable option. Canada has no options. None. It may seem like, why are you spending so much time on Canada? But we went through Medicaid and we went through the $17 million puppet show. So I think we diversified a little bit. But people don't really seem to grasp, or a lot of people to the left, that the United States has been exploited for a very, very long time, and there's no need for it to be the case. Canada is a microcosm of modern entitlement-minded socialist or socialist-light governments. They can only brag about their entitlements. They can only brag about their social safety nets as long as the United States foots the bill. And I don't just mean foots the bill as far as military and defending them, though that is most important. The more we look into U.S. aid, the more we look into a lot of the government bloat, the more that we see people benefiting who aren't even a part of this country. And that includes places like Canada. They sit and they brag about socialized healthcare and their euthanization program, or even in Germany, they'll brag about free internet being a human right, and how does the United States have an awful blah, 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 insert whatever here. Look, they're delusional if they think that we need them more than they need us, but let's put a finer point on it, okay? All right, you like all that free stuff? Yeah, okay, the United States doesn't do it. Okay, we're going to change one thing. Rest of the world, protect your own countries, go. Don't demand that we subsidize your country and then bitch about how we subsidize it. That gravy train is over. And so this is all theater in Canada, just like most of what you hear going on at the UN, just like what most of you hear going on at NATO. If they want to discuss all of these solutions while they don't even spend their contracted amount, for example, in NATO, look, you guys can do that. You guys can have your weekend getaways, and you guys can have your climate summits, and you can have your international agreements, And you can talk about how we reform the world. The only thing that we request is that you ask us first. Because Daddy decides how Daddy spends the money in this household. And that's where you guys are, even if Canada's up in the attic. It's all so silly. Almost as silly as George W. Bush still investigating the disappearance of Waldo.
There he is. Laura, I told you I'd find him. You misunderestimated me.
Well, that's a happy ending.
Yeah, he found him.
Yeah.
Look at that. He was hiding in a cave.
Yes. Well, it was a peppermint-themed cave.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That's hard. You can't do that.
Good disguise.
I don't know how I keep finding these peppermint-themed places.
Yeah, I didn't even know they existed.
Theme parks, forests,
beaches,
caves. Yeah.
Medieval battlegrounds.
Yeah. Guerrilla military training grounds. I don't even know why there's a peppermint military anywhere. This has been No Canada. All right, and of course, it is Chat Thursday today. We're going to continue. For those of you who are not members of Rumble Premium, none of this happens. You think that I'd be able to trash an entire country consequence-free on YouTube if I was beholden to advertisers? It's because of you. Click that button, $99 annually. Rumble Premium is Mug Club. Mug Club is now Rumble Premium. You get everyone else there on the network. You get it ad-free. None of it happens without you. Every day we stream, especially here on Rumble, we own live. But we are going to continue discussing this.
Oh, no.
I guess yesterday some people didn't like that I trashed Gladiator 2.
No, I think
I actually watched it last night.
Fine.
It's bad.
I didn't think it was terrible, but it was definitely not anywhere near the same level as Gladiator 1.
Hold on. There was a lot in the. I know. I'm going to get a note. Fire Josh.
No. It's just it's fine. We have different. I think he thinks it was mediocre. I think it's an affront to modern civilization.
Okay.
The shark thing was even my wife was like,
no.
Why are they going so? Why the sharks are that hungry?
Yeah, immediately.
They're not eating themselves. How did they get the sharks so hungry? They're not even eating themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
I did some research, by the way. I was like, I don't want to sound dumb about this because I don't think they could put that much water in the Coliseum.
No, they absolutely could not.
1.5 meters for Canadian friends, or 5 feet for normal people.
Yeah.
Okay.
5 feet of water is the max they could put in the Coliseum.
Yeah, and I'd be willing to bet that they didn't have very effective shark transportation.
No. Yeah, or they just live in the aqueducts. Is that they get them from the bathhouses? How did that happen?
Well, and then they got some senator with his slave boy and a strigil. Oil me, slave boy. Oh, Lord. Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the bathhouse.
It was an urban legend. Actually, somebody flushed a baby shark down the toilet one time, and now they live in the system.
I earned my freedom wrestling sharks in the Coliseum.
That's right.
It's so stupid. Then they got these big boats, and then one boat takes out the other boat's oars by going a total speed of 1.5 knots.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
And it goes through 16 oars and then rams them. It's the whole thing was so unrealistic. And you're right, the CGI was kind of bad.
Yeah.
The rhino
riding a rhinoceros.
The rhino speared a guy or impaled a guy, and the blood. It was just so unrealistic. But
yeah, let alone the monkey scene. Where the monkey scene? Oh yeah, where the guy chokes out a monkey.
Oh, he eats he bites the monkey, and the monkey doesn't go monkey on him.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
The monkey's just like, ah!
Yeah.
He's like, are you really?
Like what? Did he have an unwritten contract with the monkey that he could eat him?
It looked like a Nosferatu monkey first of all.
Yes, it made no sense.
Which was like, where did these come from?
Yeah. I guess Germany.
But I also I don't know. I didn't like how the story. I don't want to get into it too much. But anyways, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be based on your review, but also not great.
Yeah.
You just described a terrible.
Hold on. Yes.
I try not to hate movies because I did watch it and I was entertained.
Try harder.
Well, there's a worse film out there. So Gladiator 2, I didn't like it, but there's a worse film. Okay. I haven't watched all of it, but I guess a 2018 Steven Seagal film. It's called China Salesman. And for those of you who don't understand this, Steven Seagal, well, we all know he's a fraud, but he is a certifiable psychopath. So this will be fun.
I want to thank you all. However, only 2 companies have been selected. Whoever wins the bidding wins respect.
Once the communication collapses, the door of our success will be wide open.